Ladies and gents, welcome back to another video. In front of me here's a package with 3 iPhones inside. We've got 2 iPhone 7 Plus models and an iPhone SE first generation. Now, while these are not running rare versions of iOS, they were too good of a deal for me to pass up. We'll talk about that once we get them opened up and see what kind of condition they're in. So let's begin. Okay, so we've got the iPhones here. They're pretty dirty. You can see the screen's cracked on this one. They do have cases, and here's our iPhone SE. Got a wooden case. The case is, everything here is kind of gross. I want to get it cleaned up, but check this out. The seller left this in the box, $5 bill. Pretty cool to see. And they said, hey, thanks for the purchase. It's been a while since I sold on eBay, and they couldn't bring themselves to just throwing the phones away. So the seller here must not have known that eBay is a huge place, got a massive market for reselling old electronics, especially iPhones. And I think they probably priced these a little bit low. I'm gonna put the value up here. So that's the total price that I paid, including tax and shipping for these devices. And that means that each one of these 3 iPhones came out to be that much right there. So pretty good deal if you ask me. And then of course we did get $5 back, so you can subtract $5 from that. But whatever. Okay, so now what I wanna do is I wanna get these iPhones cleaned up. We're gonna take them out of the case. I don't know if we're gonna use these cases or not. I kinda like this one. It's got a grippy kind of rubber textured feel on the side, but the plastic down here is broken. We got a sharp edge there. This one's not really my style with the flowers on it, and it's overall pretty worn. And then this case here, also very worn and feeling sort of sticky. All right, what we're gonna do, we're gonna get these cleaned up, turned on, charged, and then we're gonna talk about these 3 iPhones that I just purchased. All right, here we go. We got the iPhone there all charged. I actually didn't even need to plug them in, and they're all here at the setup screen. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get these completely set up and onto their home screen, and then we can see what the specs of these iPhones are and then talk a bit about the condition. I'm actually a little bit surprised for these phones. Let me go ahead and get these set up. All right, we got all 3 of these iPhones set up and they are at the home screen here. So what we can do is first talk about the condition. We've got our iPhone SE. This is the space gray model. You can see it says SE right there on the back. This one's in very nice condition. It does have some fingerprints from me setting it up, but the overall body of the phone is in very nice condition. There might be a tiny little dent down there by the headphone jack, but the rest of the phone looks very clean. And the display is in very nice condition as well. There are some scratches, you can see those there, but no cracks on this phone. Now, one thing that is noticeable is there is like a burn spot. Let's see if I can get it right there. So that is actually underneath the glass on the LCD itself. It shows up really well on a white screen. So if I go into settings there, you can see it almost, now that I'm looking at it, let me zoom out here. It kind of looks like some sort of liquid damage. It kind of appears as if there are bubbles under there. Not sure how well that's going to show up for you guys, but it almost looks like someone spilled a dark beverage underneath the display. So that's kind of strange. But overall, this is a pretty clean phone. That does take away from the experience there. Heading into settings, general and about, this is a 32 gigabyte iPhone SE. No SIM restriction, so this phone is completely network unlocked. Let's check out the battery health. I don't actually know. Okay, I guess it is available here. So 80% is the battery health here on our iPhone SE. I don't know how true that is because this iPhone, as I was going through the setup, completely shut off and died. I had to plug it in with the cable there, even though it had indicated that the battery was around 50% when I began the setup. So I don't know how that's gonna go. Now we'll talk about this phone more in just a second, but let's look at the 2 iPhone 7 Plus models we've got. They're both in the gold color, the rose gold to be exact. This one here has a screen protector on the back, which is a pretty interesting choice given the back of this iPhone is actually aluminum, not glass. So I really don't understand what this is supposed to do other than prevent scratches, but this phone was in a case anyway. It seems like that would have been used better on the front of the phone, given the fact that the glass is shattered here. So I'm really not sure what kind of choice the person who owned this phone made by putting it on the rear. Although you can see that it is made for that. I mean, the cutouts are set up there for the camera, but I think this iPhone would have fared a little better had it had a screen protector on the front, because this glass is pretty shattered. Okay, now I want to show you guys inside of settings here. Let's see the capacity of this iPhone. So it is obviously a 7 Plus, iOS 15.8.3, and it's a 128 gigabyte model. The battery is indicating it needs service. We will see what that says. Okay, we'll check the battery health in a minute. SIM restrictions is this phone is unlocked, which is also really good to see there. I'm not sure what happened. Let me go back and find battery health. So we're looking at 71%. That's actually pretty low, especially for an iPhone 7 Plus. The reason I say that is because these larger phones with the bigger batteries tend to hold their capacity and their battery health a little bit better compared to something like the SE. And that's something I want to mention once we finish looking at this one. I want to talk about why the SE is an interesting device here in 2025. Here's our last 7 Plus. This is also in the rose gold color. This one's in much nicer condition. Really no scratches or dents on the phone, and the display is in much better condition. There are a few scratches and scuff marks on the glass, but it's not cracked like this one is over there. Let's head into settings here and see what we've got. So it's another 128 gigabyte model. This one's running iOS 15.8. The battery's also indicating service. This one is unlocked as well, so that is really good to see. Let's see what the battery health is on this one, and it is 77%, so a little bit better, although I'm not sure there is much of a noticeable difference here with both of these iPhones, battery health being in the 70%. That is actually pretty low. Now, what I want to talk about here is the comparison between these two phones. They're actually a little bit more similar than you might imagine, in the sense that they run the same version of iOS. They both finished support on iOS 15. So software-wise, these phones are almost identical, but exteriorly and even some components interiorly, these phones are drastically different. Obviously, there's a huge size difference here, and the form factor is quite a bit different on these phones as well. The iPhone SE does still have that headphone jack at the bottom. The 7 Plus does not. The 7 Plus does have stereo speakers, got a speaker at the bottom, and the loudspeaker up here in the earpiece also doubles as another speaker. So holding the phone in landscape, you do get stereo sound. This iPhone also has a capacitive home button there. So the home button does not actually click, versus on the iPhone SE, this does actually have a physical clicking home button. No camera bump on the SE. The iPhone 7 Plus does have a camera bump, but compared to today, this thing is minuscule. It hardly even looks like a camera bump at all. There are two lenses. We've got a wide angle lens and a telephoto lens, both at 8 megapixels. The wide angle does have optical image stabilization. The telephoto does not. So what I want to do is I'm going to record video here from both of these iPhones. Now they are both capable of 4K video recording, but that's going to be locked at 60 frames per second. And I'm trying to find the camera here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record 1080p at 60 frames per second so that the resolution is different, but the frame rate is the same. So let's go ahead and switch over here to the iPhone SE, and we're going to see how that looks and sounds as we record video. So here we go. All right, here we are on the iPhone SE. There's the main setup recording right there. We'll see how this looks and sounds on the computer, but it's appearing a tiny bit shaky from what I can tell so far. Here's a 7 Plus down there. The colors look good, and I'd imagine the resolution and the frame rate is pretty nice, but you might notice a difference from the 1080p here on the SE to the 4K resolution that I record on my main setup. So with that said, let's go ahead and fire up the 7 Plus here, and we're gonna see how this thing looks and sounds as we record video on it. So we'll go ahead and switch over right there. All right, here we are on the 7 Plus. This should look a little bit better. It's got a much newer lens. It's got optical image stabilization. I'd imagine the microphone's probably a little bit better as well. The colors look a little cleaner here on the display. That could just be because the resolution of the phone itself is a lot better, but I think it's gonna show up a little bit cleaner for you guys viewing this on your devices. We've got an Apple Watch Series 7 there and an iPod Classic. I believe this is a 7th gen 160 gigabyte right there. So hopefully this looks and sounds okay. Let's go ahead and switch back to the main setup. All right, there you guys got a look and a listen to how the iPhone SE sounds and the iPhone 7 Plus. Pretty similar devices. They're both capable of 4K 30 and 1080p 60, as well as slow motion video recording. Now, can I recommend either of these phones here in 2025? The short answer is no, I really can't. The long answer is maybe if you're on a super, super tight budget, or wherever you're located in the world, it's just not really feasible to get newer phones than this, at least not at a reasonable price. We'll start with the iPhone SE. This is a really small device. It's got a 4-inch display. This thing feels comically small to hold. It's truthfully not much bigger than an iPod Classic, although it is a little bit thinner. But this phone, while it doesn't have any known flaws like the iPhone 7 Plus does, this phone is tiny and the battery on this thing is not good at all. So I think I showed you guys the battery health here. It's at 80%. That's actually on the higher end for most of these phones. Because the battery is so small, it goes through charge cycles faster and the battery gets charged quicker and it drains faster. That's tough on the device and that's tough on the battery. So finding one of these with good battery health is a real challenge. If it wasn't for the battery or the size of this phone, I could recommend it because it's got pretty powerful specs, at least for I think what this thing is valued at today. It's got a dual core A9 processor, very powerful GPU given the screen resolution. Probably pretty overkill for that. So you're never going to notice any slowdowns or stuttering on the display, even on this thing's last version of iOS, which is 15. And this thing does have 2 gigs of RAM, so that could be feeling quite limiting here in 2025 when all the new phones have 8 gigabytes or more. You do get a headphone jack, so for what that's worth, if you want a headphone jack, this is the last phone that supports that from Apple, along with the iPhone 6s. So not sure I can really recommend this. Maybe for like a $30 or $40 smartphone, this is what you're going to be able to find. But at that price point, I feel like you just spend a little bit more, get an iPhone 8 or maybe even an SE 2nd gen. Okay, moving on to the 7 Plus. This phone has a lot more to offer. It's got 3 gigabytes of RAM. It's got a quad-core A10 CPU and a much better GPU. It's got dual cameras here on the back. Much bigger phone. This thing was water resistant when it launched, although I don't think I would trust that anymore unless you're buying an iPhone 7 that's basically brand new, which good luck with that. The 7 and the 7 Plus do have some known issues, one of which is the cellular modem. So if we head back into settings, general and about, and I scroll down here to modem firmware, this does give us a value there. If this was blank, we would know that this phone has a modem problem. That is a hardware issue with the, I believe it's the cellular antenna on this phone. It goes bad and it will not connect to cellular networks, and it causes some other weird errors with the phone, and it's really not a usable experience. That said, if you can get a 7 Plus with a good battery, so I'd say like 85% or higher, 90s ideally, if you can find one like that, that's in very nice condition and you can tell probably hasn't been used much, I do think it's still a good value. It's a big phone, it's got a nice display. It's very powerful. This thing is with its A10 chip, really no slowdowns, no stutterings. The biggest limitation on this phone is going to be lack of iOS support. This thing also runs iOS 15, the same as this little iPhone SE. So for whatever reason, Apple did not give this iOS 16 or above, and I would say that it can clearly run it. This thing is plenty capable with its CPU processor as well as the 3 gigabytes of memory that it has. That's the same as the iPhone XR, which is running the current version of iOS 18, and performance-wise, not a huge difference there. So I think Apple limited this because it was such a good phone, and the iPhone 8 is really not a whole lot different in a few key areas. So not 100% sure why this thing did not get future software support, but Apple is known for cutting off devices a little bit prematurely. So if you can get one of these for like $50 and it's in good, nice condition with no problems, I'd say go for it. It's still a very nice phone. If it were up to me, I would say spend a little bit more. Get an iPhone 8 Plus or an iPhone SE 2nd generation. Those are going to give you better software support and an overall better experience. This phone does not have wireless charging, so that is probably one thing you might miss if you pick up one of these, is the lack of wireless charging there. And also no 4K 60 video recording. That's something that I use a bunch when I record my videos. So if I were using a 7 Plus, I would have to do 4K 30 or 1080p 60. So a bit of a trade-off there. Okay guys, that's going to do it here for these 3 devices, 2 iPhone 7 Pluses and an iPhone SE 1st gen. They're all kind of in their own unique condition, and they have all seen better days. They're all running their last version of iOS, which is 15, and I'm not sure I can really recommend them in good faith to you guys unless there are some circumstances that indicate that these might be the best phones for you at the time. All right, hope you enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment down below. Are any of you guys still using these phones as your daily driver? And what's your experience with them here in 2025? Okay, that's gonna do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I look forward to seeing you in another one of my videos.